We had some technical issues first. So, there he is. There he is. There he is. Seb, do you hear me? Do you see me?
Yes. Yeah, I'm here.
Great. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you for the invite, Josh. I'm glad that I can share my insights and my knowledge about talent and skill development with the audience of Advanced Football. So I want to thank you. Thank you, Josh.
Great. Before you could introduce yourself, I want to ask you the hardest question up front.
Okay.
Because there's in Germany, people wonder, football people wonder about how is it possible for the Belgian football to get so successful. Like I googled some numbers, for example, your football association's got 450,000 people playing football. In Germany, there's 7.1 million playing, and for the German audience, the Bavarian Football Association alone got 1.6 million.
I think the key lies in our development. Our national teams are separated. When I see German teams, I see many early majors, and in our national teams, we always have two teams. We have the futures, and that are the late developers, and we have the early majors that are the early developers. Players like Hazard, players like Dries Mertens, they were all playing at the futures. They were playing at the national teams, but maybe in other countries they will drop down because they're too small, they're not good enough. And I think that model to keep an eye on the future and predict potential, that made us a national team from today. So I think that's the big difference with our country and Germany.
Is it only on the top 1%, this kind of top level and quality, or is it all over the Belgian football? What do you think?
Some teams have an eye on potential, some teams don't. It's all based on the long-term vision. Do you want tournaments in this moment, or do you want build a national team for the futures like Belgium did? And I think a few teams at the highest level, I give always the example of KRC Genk is building many talents because they have a long-term vision, and they give time to players who are late developers, and they can watch to potential and can overlook performing today.
Okay, great. That's a good start for the beginning, but let's take a step back first. Who are you and what are you?
I'm going to open my PowerPoint if possible.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a try. Do you see my presentation?
Everything's perfect.
Okay, perfect. I see this is okay. Perfect. I'm Seb Jacobs. I live in Antwerp. I'm 25 years old. I'm working for Royal Antwerp Football Club, a first division team. But when I was younger, I was playing at the highest level. I played for KV Mechelen. I also played for Royal Antwerp. And I also went to the elite soccer school in Belgium. We have 5 elite soccer schools to combine your sports and school in the best possible way. I also played for the national youth teams for the futures because I was also a late developer. So they give me time to develop and unlock my real potential. But at the end, I didn't become a pro. So I started studying. I went to high school and started studying about the development of children. How do they learn? What is coaching? What is the potential impact of coaching? And how does fit that in each other? And beside that, I'm very active on social media to inspire younger and other coaches and get inspired by bigger coaches. I'm giving workshops around the country, and I'm working full time at the club right now. I'm talent coordinator at Royal Antwerp, and I love my job. So that's what I'm doing today.
Okay. In Germany there are two ways to become a coach. The first one is your kid is going to a club and someone is asking you as a head of the youth, do you want to coach with us, for us? That's the first way. Or the other way is you're a football enthusiast and you would like to, and you love the game, and then you get in early age, like I do. you get your own team. What is it in Belgium, the
Um,
way?
it's perfect the same way, but I started coaching through the experience of myself when I was younger. I had coaches who can influence me in a very positive way, and I saw my development growing very fast. And the other season, I had coaches where I was standing still and I was not developing. So I started coaching through my own experience, and I think we don't unlock the potential like it should be. I believe there is more potential in the world or in our country or in my environment than we can see at the moment. So for me, it started out by interest of developing and of learning and the love for children. So that's how I started. But for sure, when I stopped soccer playing and I was watching a game, I remember under 16 of KV Mechelen, I think it was against Club Brugge, and the head of the academy of KV Mechelen asked me, "Hey Zep, you've played here. You stopped playing. Do you want to be a coach?" And I started coaching the under 11s of KV Mechelen, and then I was passionate at the right directly. So, and my study about development of children and what is potential and how can we influence their development, and that's how I become a coach. But I think it's all starts the same way. Nobody is born and say I want to be a coach. I think it's someone you become a coach by experience, by talking with other people and get inspired by other coaches. Because I was inspired by a coach who was getting the best out of me, and I want to be like him. So that's how I started. But I believe that in every country, mostly it started like, hey, you want to give a training, or you want to coach this game, or you want to coach or under 8 or under 9s, and then you develop a passion, and then you roll into being a coach.
All right, sounds great. So it's a special time, especially for us footballers or soccer coaches and players. How has COVID-19 affect your training and your work?
In Belgium, we are still in a lockdown, and in a light version, because some teams are training with 4 players, with 6 players, but we are not. And so we went through a crisis, and I believe that where there is a crisis, there is a chance. And I took the chance to gain more knowledge, to find structure in my vision, because I believe that where there is a crisis, there is a chance. So I took the chance to read and reread books. I talked with a lot of coaches from Europe. I talked with coaches from the Netherlands, from Germany, from France. And I also watched some other sports. I talked a lot with an NBA skill coach about skill development. How is the approach in basketball? And I watched, of course, like Q coaches doing right now. And I watched a lot of webinars. But I believe when there is a crisis, you have to focus on what you can control. And we can't control that we're not on the pitch with the players. We're not seeing each other. But we can control how good you're becoming during this period. Because I don't want to look back in 1 or 2 weeks when we can start training again and look back and see, oh, I wasted my time. So I took this time as a coach for myself to read and talk with other people and find structure in my own vision, because there is coming so much information on us as a coach on Twitter and Instagram that you have to find what's important for you, and I put it in a structure for me. So I took this period as a chance, and I get the best out of it.
What is the strategy your club is doing or having right now regarding you and your players?
Yes, I think for players it is more difficult than for us. Playing at the highest level means that you're living in a very structured way. Monday, you wake up at 7:30, you go to school, you come home, you eat something fast, you go to training, you came home, you're studying a little bit, and you go to sleep. You go to sleep, and that's 5 times a day. And in a moment, everything disappears. Players can't go to school, players can't go to training sessions, players don't see anybody. And the first thing we want to do is bring the structure back, because we believe structure is the key to development. And what we ask our players is send us every week a weekly scheme of what are you doing and when are you doing. Because we saw players that only wake up at 11 o'clock, who went to sleep at 2 o'clock at night, or were gaming 4 or 6 hours a day. So for us, the most important thing was bring structure back. So when the moment we can start training again, that they don't have to fit in the structure again, because they kept in the same structure. Of course, we had a physical plan and a technical plan that the player has to do at home on an individual way. But I believe that we created a structure, and we kept short by our players. As example, I want to give, we were doing workouts online. We had a weekly session where we did a workout, and we did a call about lifestyle, about motivation, mindset, about how to control your stress level, but also something fun. We did a quiz to build a relation with our players, and I want to show you a video how we did it. I hope you can see the video.
Yep, it works.
Here you can see we're doing a workout with under 12s, under 13s, with our lifestyle coach and our physical coaches, just to be together, and because we were all in the same struggle, but we kept working, we kept motivated, the players see each other, we're all working, we're all improving, and I think that was very important, what we did during this lockdown. So the players were talking. So we stayed one red family during this period, because I believe discipline is like the quote said, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. The goals stay the same. Players want to become a pro in our first team. So the development didn't stop during the lockdown. We were still working. We asked a lot from our players. That's what we did.
Let's take a step back first. What is your club you're working at? Would you describe it? Like how many?
Oh, sorry, I wasn't hearing you. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm back.
Let's take a step back first. How would you describe the club you're working at? So how many people work there? How is the quality of the coaching staff? How is it all organized?
I'm working at Antwerp Club, and we have a big history. We played the Europa League, and then we had some bad times. We played a long period in second division. But a new investor came, and he wanted to build a top club. First of all, our first team, bringing back to the highest level with buying good players. And then the second step was, okay, now we want to build an academy. So 3 years ago, we started all again. We had a new head of development, bring new staff, new coaches with specific experience. We also bring some ex-professionals into our academy, because we believe that a combination between teachers at school and also a training session in combining with ex-pros, ex-professionals, that combination between details and relationship builders develops children better and faster. So we're with 8 full-time coaches right now. But we many more, of course. We don't have coaches when the younger ages. We train around 4 or 5 times a week. We working next season with the school. We're going to work together to train more, to train better, to have the children more with us. And we are growing. We are 3 years further now, and we're making big steps. I think we are a very structured club. We created a vision and an identity that, of course, is based on our first team, because if we want to develop players that are breaking through into our first team, we have to know what is the identity and what are the characteristics you need to play for 15,000 people in our stadium, and that was the basis. And then we wrote a plan what we want to give our players to develop themselves into the next Mbokani, what is a top player into our team right now.
Is there a role model for club-wise for you? You orientate yourself, maybe a German one?
Excuse me, not a German one. A team for the Netherlands. I went 3 times to AZ Alkmaar, because the numbers they can say about players who are breaking through are incredible. I went 3-4 times to them, to Alkmaar, because I'm a coach at Royal Antwerp, but I'm doing a lot more. I'm looking always in the mirror, but I also look a lot out of the window. And I mean by that, that I'm watching other clubs. What are they doing? How are they doing? Can it fit into our academy? And AZ Alkmaar it's an evidence-based academy. They're doing a lot of science with a lot of numbers, and they're predicting potential. I think they're very close to a formula that says, okay, we have a talent, we have potential, because I believe that 50% out of their under 13 become a pro player. So that's insane. And what I see there, we are trying what can we implement into our academy, and because not everything fits into our academy. So we have to see what can we take from other academies, because not everything what Bayern Munich, of Leipzig, of AZ Alkmaar, of Chelsea are doing, we can implement. It has to fit in our vision. It has to fit in our structure. But we're looking with a big eye to AZ Alkmaar. How are they doing stuff, because it works what they're doing.
All right, you have some more slides for us to share?
Yes.
Feel free to open.
Perfect. One more slide about COVID-19. I believe, like I said in the beginning, where there is a crisis, there is a chance. And we took the chance to build a relation, because I believe first of all, we are all in the same struggle. Players, coordinators, staff, everybody's in the same struggle. We are at home, we're in a lockdown. But the thing we never want to lose was the relation with our players, because I think by being honest as a coach and have individual calls with your players, that even for you, in there are difficult times, can build a bond that is even stronger than before. So during this period, we have individual calls, team calls, and we were very honest with each other. What is difficult? What is going good? So we put a lot of time on building the relationship during this period, because relation is the basis of development and of winning, of course. But if I'm going to the next slide. So like I said, I'm talent coordinator. And what you can see over here is a simplified talent model. And I'm responsible for everything that matters to individual talent development, or the red arrow you can see over here. And the first question I'm asked myself, or still asking myself, is what is a talent today? If a 10-year-old player is coming to our academy, what does potential looks like? What is a talent? What does a player need to have to become a pro into our club? And the second question, and not less important than the other question, is how does football in 10 years look like? How will football be played in 10 years? Because when a player of 10 years old is coming in your academy at this moment, we have to predict when he's 20 years old how football will be played in the future. And that matters because maybe there will be less time, less space, more speed. And we have to, the answer to the question, we have to put it in their development process, into our academy, into our program. So this question I'm constantly thinking about, and I try to see how is football played at the highest level, and what can we implement in a specific age approach into our academy program. But of course, this process, what I'll talk about later, is influenced by the environment, because we saw during this period that players with supportive parents had it more easy, because they were supporting to train at home, to work at home. So an environment is very important. And also intrapersonal factors. What is the motivation? What is the identity? What are these beliefs? And of course, luck, like maybe you will get an injury or something. So, but everything that matters to individual talent development is under my responsibility. And first of all, when I talk about talent development, I think we have to change the way we look at the development process. And I mean by that, on the left side, the development process is like a straight line. It's like a linear development, but talent development is not going like that. The line on the right, on the left side, you can see is the best players who are younger are also the best players when they're older. But we saw from research that performance in this moment is a bad predictor of performance in the future. And on the right side, the other approach of talent development of a process. It's like a marathon. It goes ups and downs. Sometimes someone is standing still where other players are accelerate. So I think we have to change the way we look from the left to the right side. So the best players of the high performers in this moment are not always a high performance in the future. And research that I want to show, it's a little triangle. We all know the triangle. Good players are coming to our academy, and the better stay, and the other were all falling down. Or it's the same, you start in the local team, and then you come to an elite environment. Only the best stay, and they will become a pro. But an Australian researcher talked to 270 top athletes or Olympic athletes in Australia, because he wanted to know how was their process to become over there at the top level, at the highest level performing. And what he saw was that only 60% was also a high performer when they were younger. And 84%, these 84% players develop themselves in a non-linear way. Like you can see the arrows in the middle, they're going left, up, they're struggling, they're going down, they're going up again. So the arrows you can see in the middle are the same as the line you see here on the right side. So we have to know when we talk about talent development, that is not a straight line, that not the high performers from now are the high performers in the future. And we have to keep that in mind if we talk about development, if we look at development.
Okay, two questions.
Yes.
If you could step back, I think 2 slides. Or another one. Yes. You mentioned environment.
Yes.
How is it talent in Belgium living through the day? Is it in a school living by his parents, or is he living by the club? Because in Germany, the most talented kids normally, if they don't come from Munich, for example, and play for Bayern, they need to travel or to move to Munich.
First of all, Belgium is a very small country, so we don't have to travel that much like you have to do in Germany. But the bigger clubs, and we are getting there, bigger clubs have their own school. And they have their own school, and when players are living close to the school, they can go to school. Other players also can live by a guest family, or so the difference between Belgium and Germany, and that is, I believe that I'm going to start again. I believe that players who can grow at home with their family develop much faster and better because they're in a safe environment. So I prefer to keep players at their home and try to develop them around their home, with their parents, with their family, in their environment. But for sure, we have talent. If we spot a talent of a potential pro player that we think he can become a pro on the other side of the country, we will let him come to Antwerp and put him in a guest family. For sure, that in Belgium we're doing that a lot. But I believe that if we can develop players at home, close to their family, they develop better. They develop faster. But for sure, big clubs like Anderlecht, Genk, Club Brugge, they all have their guest coaches and players living nearby. The club all go to the same school because they can train at school. So the club can give more hours, and more training means that they're getting better, and they're getting better means they can become a pro. So in Belgium, for sure, players come to guest coaches and live with the club, and they're all at the same school. But the other thing is, from the KBVB, the Football Federation, we have the elite soccer schools. We have 5 elite soccer schools in Belgium, where players can go to the school when you're playing at the highest level at youth, and there are trainers that are not related to a club. So you train 12 hours a week with top coaches, but they're not related to a club. That's what I did. I went to Leuven, a city in Belgium, just to have training, not linked to my club where I was playing, but I get training at the highest level from top coaches at school. But it was not combined to my club. But I see that clubs right now want to build their own school and want to build their own development program with their school, with their guest coaches, so they have their children closer to them and they can have more impact. But I believe that when we can children let them live at home in their environment with their parents in their safe environment, they develop faster and better.
Where does the talent process or talent development process start? Like, is it with the age of 7, 8, 9? Where does it start?
For me, it starts when a child is born, because talent development, first of all, we have to recognize talent, or we have to recognize potential, or we have to recognize a skill where we has the ability to develop them to an exceptionally high level. But first of all, we need to create a social, stable child who feel emotions, who can talk, who and can be a good mover. So I believe until under 9, let them play and coach as less as possible. I believe let them play in an open environment, let them play in different sports, develop the child at home. So the talent development process is starting from the child is born and it's never ending. But I believe when a child is born, the specific goals of the development are developing good movers, developing social, stable children. So the development process starts from the moment that a child is born. Only the direction, if he become a basketballer, or if he can become a musician, or if he can become a footballer, that depends on how is the development process going. But development process is starting from the moment when the children go. At school, we're all doing the same thing. I think schools and clubs have to put their hands together, because talent development is a process that's much bigger than on the field at your club.
Okay, thanks. What are the other slides you?
Yeah. So like I said, the first question, when I talk about talent development or the process of developing a certain skill, is the question, what is talent? And I want to show you this picture. Like you see, on the left side, you see a player from Ajax, and on the right side, you see a player from Sparta Rotterdam. And we all see the difference. And for sure, the left player from Ajax will have an impact on the game that's much more than the impact the small guy will have. But the impact that he will have on the game today, of the performance he will put on the field today, doesn't say anything about the future he will become, or about the potential of how good he can become. But on the other side, we have to be careful. The smaller guy, for sure, his biological age will be very lower. Maybe when we're talking about under 14s, his biological age will be 11, and the biological age of the Ajax player will be 16. So there's 4 years of difference between biological age. But when we're sending scouts to games, the scouts are mostly looking for players who have a big impact on the game, because we all see that he will win more duels, that he will score more goals, he will give more assists, because his power and his ability to sprint faster, to win duels is much higher than the smaller guy. But it doesn't say anything about the potential the big or the small guy has. And that's the question you started with. What is the big difference between why we are in Belgium having good players in a moment? Because I believe that we can see, or we try to see, because we're not always successful, but we try to see through the performance at the moment right now, and we try to look at the potential. And I want to share with you these two pictures. You see on the left side, our club, under 14, playing against Schalke, and on the right side, we were playing against Düsseldorf. And what you see is that the difference in biological age is very much, especially at the right side. You see your number 14, for sure, he will lose this duel in speed, in power. But I believe that these players, or those players, the difficulties they're going through at this moment will be the advantage they will have when they will be a pro. So giving time to players and look for potential instead of high performance at this moment is the key to develop the next generation of Red Devils. So this is what I want to show, and this is where it is all about. What is potential and what is performance today? And I want you to show, because these players don't have it difficult at our club, because we also have big players for sure, but these players don't have it always have it easy at tournaments or at games, because maybe they're on the bench or they're losing duels, they don't have any impact of the game. So how can we keep motivating them to developing themselves and keep their mindset in the best possible way? I believe in storytelling. You can read already what Jamie Vardy is saying here. So that was the reason I was told, too small, not ready for the physicality of scholarship football. I've said it before. I don't think anyone can be told if they're good enough when they're 15 or 16 years old, when you've got many years to grow and develop. That was my reason, and there's probably been hundreds that have been told the same, and they've had to drop down as well. I'm using storytelling at this moment to explain what I want to say to the coaches who are listening, but you can also use the storytelling to your players. I'm showing this story from Jamie Vardy to these boys, because they know, okay, when we keep working hard, when we start growing, when we start developing, when we put in the work, we can become like Jamie Vardy. And Jamie Vardy, as we all know, won the championship in the Premier League and what was all-time top scorer for Leicester City. So if we look at talent, if we look at potential, try to see further than only today, and how difficult it is, try to do it, and how I do it, of how we are doing it, I want to explain right now. Josh, you can interrupt me when I'm going too fast.
Yeah, totally fine.
So when we talk about talent, what is talent today? Of what I'm searching for in players that I want to put in the first team when they went through our academy and went to our development program, I talk about 4 building blocks of talent. And the first building block, first of all, when I ask coaches around the world, what are you looking for in players? They're always saying tactical, technical, mental, and physical. We do the same, but in a different way. Physical. We are measuring speed and it's about the fibers. How fast can you run? It's something you get from Mother Nature. Of course, it's a little bit improvable, but it's something you get from Mother Nature. Technical, we call it light-footed, and light-footed starts with, like you asked me, when does development start? Light-footed players, they become light-footed when they're good movers, and good movers you're building by playing outside, by playing in the garden. The mental thing, what a lot of coaching are saying, we're looking at the mental, but what does mental mean? We call it motivation. Players who can handle failure, players who can handle pressure, players who don't give up. That's motivation. And the other thing is, they're saying tactical. But when we say tactical, for me, that's not a building block, because tactical is something doing what the coach says. When the coach says, then you have to go to left, and the player can do that. But for me, it's not a building block. The building block is cognition. And I mean by cognition, the ability to adapt your environment, to make a decision based on what you see, and that in a short moment, and execute that decision as good as possible. Having the ability to know, to be at the right moment, in the right space, at the right time. So cognition for me is the ability to adapt your environment very fast and execute and making the right decision on the right moment. So that are the building blocks that we always talk about when we talk about talent and what we are searching for. So we want players who are very fast, who are light-footed, who are motivated, and have a good spatial awareness, who have a good feeling for time and space.
What is your opinion on the polysportive approach, becoming or getting talents better footballers?
Excuse me?
The polysportive approach, like for example, besides football, you're playing volleyball, basketball, or doing
I believe, when players before they are 13, they have to do different sports. They have to be focused on one sport, but beside that, they have to do different sports. Because I believe when we want to create good movers, where I'm always talking about, I have a colleague who is specialized in movement. It's Jordi Jansen. Maybe you saw him on Instagram. He's specialized in movement, and I believe that good movers is necessary if you want to develop soccer skills. First of all, you have to be a good mover, and good mover. I don't want to be specific movers. I want to all-round good movers who are able to shift from direction, who can jump when you're jumping, when you're playing at home. But first of all, before different sports, I think we have to keep in mind that we don't have to skip just playing outside, playing on the streets, playing at home, playing on the street. Different sports is for me is a good approach until the age of under 12, because after I believe they have to put in the hours, they have to put in the focus on one sport and getting the best out of it. So until under 12, perfect to do different sports.
We already got some questions from our viewers. One of them is, how do you measure or scout the cognition part?
First of all, that's a very difficult way. In AZ Alkmaar in the Netherlands, they have a scientist. When they're doing apps, they made the decision making and they're making the cognition parts. But I believe by observation, and we are with a lot of coaches, and I'm talent coordinator, but of course I'm not alone. I have a few talent coaches, and we try to look with many as possible to a player, because when we are looking with many, we don't have one opinion. And I believe when we have different opinions and many opinions about a certain topic, like cognition, and we see that he's on the right time at the right moment, but he's losing duel or he's losing his ball because he's not powerful enough, that says something about his cognition is good, but his power of his potential, his maturity at this moment, because he's not big enough. But we can look through that. So by observation and seeing that players making right decisions on the right moment, being at the right space at the right time, looking around, scanning the environment and adapting the environment, for us, that is cognition. And for sure, it's trainable, but it's a little bit nature. So we can't measure it for sure, but we can train it. And by observation, we're trying to come close to the real standards of what is cognition and what does cognition mean. And by looking with many people who are experienced in talent development and who saw a lot of players, we try to predict the player's cognition. But we cannot measure it today. There is an app, I think Brain First, who are developing an app to measure the cognition of top athletes. So maybe you can Google it, and they can give you an answer on how the app works.
All right. Okay.
So, of course, every club has to do on talent selection. And I give you an example of the squad under 14. On the left side, you see the players, and next to the players, you see the biological age. And I think it's important to measure the biological age. That's a formula that you can find everywhere to measure the biological age, because that says something about their potential. What you also see is the 4 building blocks like speed, light-footed players, motivation, cognition, and soccer. Soccer means a good first touch, good passing and kicking. It can be a position-specific approach, like what does the player need when he's playing right back, when he's playing winger or central defender. And what we do is, first of all, we measure the biological age, and then we see what are the strengths of players. Player 1 is very good, he's very light-footed, he's very motivated, and has a good cognition. Player 5, who has a biological age of almost 16, so he's 2 years in front of his team players. He has a good speed, and he has a good motivation. But as an example, player 1 and player 5 are playing at the same position. They're both wingers. Which player do you separate from your team, and which player are you going through? If you have the biological age and you can see that player 1 is 2 years behind his normal age, then say something about his potential. Player 5, who is 4 years ahead of 2 years ahead of his normal age, that's also say something about his potential, because his process is less longer. And as you can see, the strong points of player 1 has 3 strong points, player 5 has 2 strong points, but player 5 has an impact. His impact on the game right now is much bigger because he scored more goals, he's winning duels, he's giving more assists. So the most clubs will say, oh, player 5, because his impact on the game is bigger. What we are seeing right now by doing this, what are his strengths? What is his biological age? Bring us closer to the truth of which player has the possibility to become a first team player. And you see, we only measure the strong points, because I believe that when a player is breaking through into the first team, they're breaking through because they're good at something. It's not because they're not good yet at something. So we only care about the strong points. The weaknesses we don't measure, because weaknesses can be developed, or maybe it can be a bad day when we're measuring speed. Maybe he has a bad night, maybe he's sick, maybe there can be a lot of reasons why scoring bad on a test when we're doing a speed test. So we only care about what are his strengths and what is his biological age. We put that together to see which players are staying into our academy and which players are dropping down from our academy. So this is how we do talent selection, or how I do talent selection. But the most important thing is the biological age, because that says something about the process he still can go and the growth he can make.
All right. Okay. Let's just go forward.
Perfect. When there are questions, you can interrupt me.
Yeah.
I use the word talent a lot until now, but the word talent is a very ugly word, and I mean by that, players who believe in talent lose motivation, because why should I work hard when it's all about having the right genetics? And I prefer the word potential. And I give you an example. At school, we all been at school. When a child is having a 10 out of 10 on mathematics, and the teachers say, "Oh, here you go, you have a 10 out of 10. You must have that mathematics mind from your father. Well done." When I have a 10 out of 10, I'm very happy. But what I'm hearing that, okay, I have the right genetics because I have the mind from my father, so I don't have to work hard for it because I have the talent, I have the right mind, I have the right genetics. But all the other players around are hearing the same. Oh, he has the mathematics mind from his father, so he has a 10 out of 10. I don't have the right genetics, so why should I work hard? So instead of giving compliments on nature, we should have give compliments on become and linking it to hard work. As an example, instead of saying you must have that from your father, you can say, oh, here you go, you have a 10 out of 10. You must have worked very hard for it. So not only I am hearing, oh, when I work hard for it, I get a 10 out of 10. But all the other children around are hearing, okay, when you work hard for something, you can get a 10 out of 10. So talent is a word where we have to be very careful with. So I prefer the word potential. And If I need to put it in a definition, it will be potential or talent is the ability to develop a skill to an exceptionally high level. And the most important word you see in red is develop, because I think the most people who are listening will be coaches. And as a coaches, you have one goal. And that goal is to develop and to unlock potential. It doesn't care which tree can become the highest. We don't have to care about it. We don't have to put time on it, because we can control it. We can control the learning ability of players. So when I go to the next slide, you see the definition of Karel Dweck, who did some research to the growth and the fixed mindset. And that's the following definition. Talent is genetics times learning ability. But as a coach, we're developing players. We don't care about the genetics. So we have to ask ourselves, what is learning ability? How can we influence the learning ability? Does our coaching fits into their learning style? So that's what we have to focus on. We have to focus on the ability to adapt new stuff and that they can implement into game-like situations.
There is, let's just have another question, because it fits right in. You said before your points about the blocks you mentioned. Is there a block ranked higher than the other one? So is, for example, the soccer block is more important than the speed or light footed?
No, because it depends. That's what I said. We in the club, we have a position-specific approach. And I mean by that, when I'm searching for a winger, speed will be more important than cognition, because I want wingers to be wide, to stretch the defense line, because they have to be fast, because they have to make runs. We have to play 1v1. So when I talk about wingers, I have to focus more on what is his speed. But when I talk about midfielders, like number 10s, number 8, or number 6 in the midfield, I have more focus on cognition. Speed is less important when you're a midfielder. Only it depends on what kind of midfield. Maybe you're a running midfielder, and you also want to come behind the defense line. But when you're a midfielder, cognition is more important than speed. But when you're a winger, speed is more important than cognition. So it depends on that's what I'm always saying. You have to develop a specific position approach. So first of all, what do you expect from your winger? What do you expect from your central defender? What do you expect from your winger, from your striker? Maybe for a central defender, motivation is more important, because he can't lose a duel. He has to be powerful in every tackle, in every duel. So it depends on what you care in which position, I think.
Okay. All right.
So if we talk about learning ability, I'm talking always about mindset. And the good thing is about mindset is we can develop a mindset, or we can develop a growth or a fixed mindset, because it's not you have a growth or a fixed, but you have more a growth, or you have more a fixed, or you have a mixed mindset. Because mindset says something about the goal, or how do you look at certain situations. You have a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And the objective of a growth mindset is you want to become better, and you want to improve, like you see in the title. And a fixed mindset is you want to look smart, you want to look good. You believe in talent and you believe in genetics. And then you want to prove that you're good. We want to develop a growth mindset through our academy, or we put a growth mindset into our development process. So the objective of a growth mindset player is getting better. A growth mindset player looks at hard work as this is necessary to develop myself and to become better. The growth mindset players challenges, they want to face them, they want to overwin them, and they don't look, if you fail, I stop, they keep going. As the success of others, growth mindset players see it as inspiration. When another player wins a tournament of the player of the tournament, for them it's an inspiration. As a growth mindset player, you look at mistakes, you want to show them, you preserve, you don't give up. And as a growth mindset player, when you receive criticism and feedback, you took that as a learning opportunity. But when players are in a fixed mindset, and they believe in, like I said, like the compliment said, oh, I have talent from my father because my father was an ex-professional, played for Schalke 04, and I'm in the youth right now, and I'm playing for Schalke. And I have it from my father. What is the first thing they want to do? They want to look good and they want to look smart. Hard work they see as useless because they don't believe in developing themselves. Challenges they want to avoid because a challenge is an opportunity to fail. And when you fail, you don't look good. Success of others is like a treat because they always want to be at the top and they always want to show themselves. As a mistakes, they're hiding them and they're giving up when something is going difficult. And as a coach, when you give feedback, they receive it as a personal attack. I think we all know players who are more into a growth mindset or into a fixed mindset. For sure, you can have a mixed mindset. But the good news is, by the way you give compliments, by the way you're measuring their development, you can put players into a growth mindset. But everything starts by the way you coach. As a coach, if you are as a coach in a fixed mindset, you can't develop players into a growth mindset. Just everything starts with the mindset of you as a coach. So try to know in which mindset am I? If you are in a growth mindset, you can give examples for your players, like I'm doing with storytelling. So growth mindset influence, like I'm saying here, the learning ability, because when there is failure, they keep going. When they receive feedback, they put it into work. So the mindset is very important when we talk about the learning ability. And I want to show a video. I hope you can hear the sound, because if we want to have an impact on the learning ability and on the development process of players, we have to put them in the first place, and we have to put ourselves back to put the player in the first place. And this is Benjamin Zander when he's talking about the shining eyes by players. And the quote that he's saying is, "My job is to awaken possibility in other people." And I would like to share the video with you. If you can't hear me, Josh, you give me a sound.
No, there's no sound.
You yes, yeah.
You have to tick the
yes.
On the bottom left.
Yes. Normally, now it will be a sound. Oh.
World. I had an amazing discovery. This is a really big deal for me. I was 45. I'd been conducting for over 20 years, and suddenly one day I had this kind of road to Damascus event. Eureka! I realized the conductor of an orchestra doesn't make a sound. My picture appears on the front of the CD. But the conductor doesn't make a sound. He depends for his power on his ability to make other people powerful. And when that happened, it changed everything. People in my orchestra said, "What happened to you, Ben? What happened?" That was what happened. I realized my job was to awaken possibility in other people. Of course, I wanted to know whether I was doing that. And you know how you find out? You look at their eyes. If their eyes are shining, you know you're doing it. You could light up a village with this guy's eyes. If the eyes are shining, you know you're doing it. If the eyes are not shining, you get to ask a question. Who am I being that my players' eyes are not shining? We can do that with our children too. Who am I being that my children's eyes are not shining? Now, over.
That's a great one. That's a great one.
Yeah. So if we talk about development and as a coach, you're asking yourself, am I developing children right now? Are they making progression? You have to ask yourself one question. Are the children, the eyes, are they shining? And if not, you have to ask yourself, why are they not shining? And I've built a model of 5 roles you have to shift in and to switch from role to role to create the shining eyes and to put the development into the next level. Like I said before, I'm a talent coordinator, but I can develop talent or individuals on my own. So I work with 5 talent coaches through our academy who are responsible for the individual development. And by individual development of individual coaches, I not mean with 5 cones, 10 balls, one-on-one on the pitch. A talent coach is responsible on and off the pitch for the real talent development or the development of children, the development of the next generation of adults, and how I do it or how my talent coaches are doing it. I created a model of, no, I don't create, I found a model. I think it's from Action Types, where you can see 5 roles where you have to switch on the right moment with the player based on his needs to develop real talent. Now I'm going to switch to a PDF. Perfect. Because I see if it works. Normally, okay.
You have to open it full screen again and then...
And then I'm going to, okay, share screen again. Yeah, I think I have it. You can see it?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, perfect. So when we want to create shiny eyes, you have to be more than a trainer on the pitch. You have to be a talent developer. You have to be a guide. You have to be a coach. You have to be a trainer, what you are on the pitch. You have to be a mentor, and you have to be an inspirator. So as a talent coach or as a talent development, you are the architect of the environment where the talent can develop themselves. First of all is you're the guide. You're guiding the player to the elite environment. What does it mean playing at the highest level? What you have to do, what you have done to do. The second one is you're a coach. You're reflecting with players about the behavior. For example, when a player set a goal at the beginning of the season, I want to become a pro in 8 years, but is not putting the work, you have to reflect with each other. Okay, you want to become a pro, but you don't put in the work right now. Okay, what's going on? That does not fit into your goal, what you set at the beginning of the season. So as a coach, you are reflecting on behavior of players. Then you have a trainer. That's what you are on the field. It can be a skill coach. You can be a team coach or whatever. The fourth one is a mentor. You're searching with the player for his beliefs and identity. And specific at the age of 15, 16, 14, they are developing their own identity. They're with friends. They want to put themselves in front. You have to search with the player. Who are you? What are your beliefs? What is your identity? What is your mindset? So you have to be there for a mentor. You have to help them through life. And the fifth one is you have to be an inspirator. Maybe you have to children who lose inspiration and they're not motivated. What I'm always doing is I show good videos of their favorite player. When we have a striker who loves Lewandowski, when he's losing inspiration, I just do a YouTube motivation video of Lewandowski. I'm sitting with him and we're dreaming away by the video of Lewandowski. So that's what an inspirator has to do. But if we go back to the video and he's saying we have to develop the shining eyes. When players are shining and they're listening and they are in full focus and you have a relationship, if you switch between these 5 roles, you're developing real talent and more than just on the pitch. Because I believe it's better to build strong children than to be broken men. That's why I'm focused on the ages on the 12, 13, 14, and 15. Because in these ages, they're developing themselves, they're developing their mental skills. So because there we want to build strong children that are ready for stress, they're ready for failure, instead of when they're 16 or 18, okay, now we're putting a mental coach on them. So we believe it's better to build strong children by playing by these 5 roles than to repair broken men when they're 16 or 18 years old. And the other one, this was what I want to show you on the off the pitch, but for sure we are here, of the most coaches are here with the question, how do we develop on the pitch? And that's another PDF I've made. They're all downloadable on my website, www.zebjacobs.
We'll put it in the bio afterwards.
Perfect. They can download there every PDF. If they're interested, they can download. Are you seeing this? Okay, perfect. So off the pitch, we're talking about creating shiny eyes, building a relationship, build strong children. On the pitch, we talk about skill development. It can be in a tactical or in a technical way. And the most important thing you have to remember from this webinar when I was talking about training on the pitch is the following sentence. We have to train game moves at game speed in game situation. I call myself a skill coach, but I prefer the word I'm a situation coach. And I will explain later of that. First, I ask myself, what is the most important? Training of a game. And we all see that 80% of a week is about training and only 20% is about the game. So where are you focusing on? The second question is, what is a skill? How does a skill look like? What is the skill process? And we only see mostly the execution. We see some players doing a Zidane or a scissor or whatever. But that's only step 3 of the skill process. But before we see the Zidane, they have searching for information. The second step is they have to make a decision based on what they see. think about what I said before, the building block cognition. We have to see, we have to adapt. And the third step is performing the skill. So if we take that in mind and we see how we train skills today, like Wenger said from Arsenal a few years ago, he said, in football, we're training the other way around. First, we're doing Zidane's, we're doing everything, and then we put them in a situation. And Wenger is true. And I have to be honest, I do it in the same way. First, I do the execution, and then I put them in a situation. But we have to keep in mind that we're doing it the other way around of how a normally skill process looks like. When we talk about skills, I separate skills in attacking, in transition from defending to attacking, or from attacking to defending, and in defending skills. And that's the sum of individual skills. And the individual skills depends on your team playing style. And I give the example, Red Bull Leipzig needs other skills than Bayern Munich needs. And as an example, in transition, Red Bull Leipzig prefer depth, where Bayern Munich choose, I give an example, to first play a position game. So the individual skills depends on how your team is playing. It depends on the philosophy of the club and your team playing style. And we want to teach individual skills. I'm always talking about detail coaching, because details makes the difference. But we have to keep in mind that there is no ideal movement pattern. Every scissor, every Zidane has never done twice the same. So we have to find a player's his own ideal movement pattern. What is my ideal movement for a Zidane? What is my ideal movement for a scissor? What is my ideal movement for giving a pass? And we are doing that by differential learning. And differential learning means that we change in three things. First, we change in the environment. We're training on different undergrounds. We're training with different balls, with a big ball, a small ball, a light ball, and whatever. The second thing is you can change in the task. So instead of training one task for 1 hour, train different tasks. And the third thing is in the individual. An example, you can do a skills training at the beginning of the training, what we're all doing, what the most of us are doing, instead giving at the end of the training, because players will be exhausted and the movement pattern will be different. So by creating constantly different environments, by changing between task, environment, and individual, we are searching and helping the brain finding the player's his own ideal movement pattern. And details are separate in two things. First of all, you have the internal details, and the second, you have external details. Internal details are all based on body positioning. When do you look? How do you bend your knees? When do you put your arm when you're turning away? That are all internal details. But we have to be very careful when we are putting internal details into our training, because when we are putting too much internal details, we get choking under pressure. And choking under pressure means when they have no time to search, no time when there is high pressure, they can't think, then they will choke and they will fail their skill when we give more than 3. So what are we doing when we talk about internal details? First, we have to observe and analyze what internal detail needs a specific player, because not everyone needs the same internal details, because one guy is already bending his knees, where another guy needs to coach on, okay, get lower on your first touch. So we observe and we analyze, and then we train and coach. And train is underlined, because I believe that the environment gives more feedback than words or a coach can do. I give an example. When you're training the first touch, you can say good first touch, bad first touch, bad first touch. But that doesn't say anything. When you put cones or gates where the ball has to go through on their first touch, the environment, if the ball is going through the gate, says good first touch. When the ball is not going through the gate, the environment says bad first touch. So that says a lot more than when we say, oh, that was a good one, that was a bad one, that's a good one. What is bad and what is good? So I believe you have to create an environment that gives more feedback than a coach or words can do. And then when we're training without defenders, because if you want to train internal details based on movement patterns and based on body shapes, but we want to stay close to the game, I'm always using the eyes check, like you see over here. And the eyes check is we want to have intensity, we want to have concentration, and we want to have energy. And I can say in the session, hey boys, intensity, concentration, energy. But if I say eyes or eyes check, you'll see the ball speed, the execution of a skill will level up directly. But we have to say to our players, okay, when we say ice, I mean the intensity have to be higher, when we pass more powerful, turn away quicker, run faster. So that was the internal details. On the right side, we see the external details. And external details are all based on decision-making. These are the 4 special awarenesses. First of all, position. Where are you doing a specific skill? In which direction are you doing a specific skill? At which speed are you doing a specific skill? And at which moment and which movements are you doing a specific skill? So when we are coaching in a situation with defenders, we don't coach anymore on the internal details. We're coaching about the speed, the direction, the moment, and the position. So that was when we talk about detail coaching. I have internal details that I train without defenders, and I have external details that I train with defenders. I create a situation where the skill can be the outcome. So when we are developing a skill, we have 2 things. First of all, a lot of coaches, or every coach, have an own training process. We do a warming up. After the warming up, we do a possession game. We do some passing, kicking, and then we do a game. But how many coaches have also a coaching process? Because I believe in a session, in a specific session, you have to coach. You have to put your coaching in a process that is recognizable for the players. So when I talk about coaching, first of all, what I'm saying through this presentation is be a host, build a relation. When players coming into your dressing room, say something personal, do a handshake. And this time it's a little bit difficult, but say something personal, because players don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Create shiny eyes. But then when we're on the field, first of all, you are the teacher. What do you want to see? When do you want to see it? How do you want to see it? You are the teacher. You're teaching a specific skill. You're starting the drill, and the rule by teaching is you can stop the drill whenever you want. The second step of the process is you're the coach. You're taking a step back. You're coaching. You're not stopping the drill, but you do the ice check. You want intensity. You want energy. You want power. You want concentration. And the third step is you take a step back. You're observing. You see what is going good, what is going bad. You're reflecting together by open questions. And then you turn into the teacher again. Okay, this. And this process is constantly going when we are teaching specific skills. And on the other side, you see your training process. So left, coaching process, right, training process. Like I said before, my skill training process is going from internal details. I want to train a body shape. I want to train a specific execution to external details. What I mean, I put them with defenders. I put them in a situation where the skill can be the outcome. So from without to with defenders. And you see over here, we have defenders, but honestly, I had to say resistance, because when I see trainers training without defenders, everyone is saying, oh, that's not good, you have to train with defenders, it has to be recognizable. But the first resistance is when we're doing a skill is their body and the ball. They have to master their body, they have to master the ball. The second resistance can be is give them less time and give them less space. And after that, then we come to defenders. And then I have 3 defenders. I have passive defenders. I say always only when necessary, only when it helps to develop a certain skill. Otherwise, skip passive defenders. Then we have guided defenders. I will talk about later, and I will show a video about guided defense. If possible, if you can use a guided defender, use it, because it gives an advantage to the players, but you're creating a situation. And the last one is then we put them into active defenders. And I'm saying fast as possible. As you feel my players are ready to train, and I mean by training, not always be successful, but train, I mean 50% successful, 50% failure, then they are ready to train with defenders. And if we're putting our coaching process and our training process together, we want to become players and consciously incompetent to unconsciously competent, that they master a skill, that they can solve a situation. And that's the summary you see below. We have an exercise. First of all, we have to recognize what are they doing, what they have to do, how they have to do. Then we let them solve the situation with the defender, and then they have to remember it and put it into game-like situations.
Sepp, I think you have to move to Germany, to Mannheim, where we are sitting, and you have to work for us because it was like a perfect sketch we're doing. We are talking about also all the time to play in Germany. So it was great. People getting nervous in the comment section because they know normally we stop at 9 o'clock, but it was such an interesting tool you gave us. Just go ahead, and I want to see the video.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. If it's time, you can say no problem. Okay, I'm going back to the presentation. So you can see the presentation again?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So like I said, I separate 3 types of defenders. First, we have non-defenders. You can see, as I explained, you can see my arrow?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So first of all, we have no defenders. The defenders has no action. You have many reps. So the advantage of training without defenders is you can get more repetitions. But in the skill process, like I told, the skill process looks like, first you search for information, then you make a decision, then you give the execution. With no defenders, we only train the execution, and it's not game-like. The second type of defender, where I'm talking about, and I want to show some videos to explain it better, is the guided defender. You're putting defender, there are no passive defenders, there are active defenders, but they have a limitation. The reps they will get are moderated. They are less than without defenders, but you have you have more repetitions than you're training with active defenders. You're in the whole skill process, and you're closer to the game. With active defenders, they have no limitation. You have less reps because you're creating situations, and sometimes they will fail, sometimes they will succeed, but you're in the whole skill process and you're close to the game. But let us see the video when I talk about guided defense. This is on a workshop I gave in Racing Genk, a top club in Belgium, with a top development academy and a top development program. What you will see in this exercise is, first of all, the coach process. I become a teacher when I start the video. And first I'm going to run the video, and after I'm going to explain. So here I'm now being the teacher. I want details. I'm asking open questions. I'm saying, okay, who is with me? What are the details? What do we see? When do we pass the ball? When you need to look to your shoulder? I give an example. I give you a demo. And then we see the guided defense. You see, the defender is always the second player. He has a limitation, because his limitation is he has to choose a side and touch it with his feet before he can touch the other player. So the attacker who is coming into the square has to look behind his shoulder, looks which side the defender chooses, and turn away the other side. So the defender's limitation is he touch a point on one of the both sides, and then he can touch the attacker who has the ball. So that's what I called guided defense. I'm playing with limitations to give the attackers an advantage.
Could you
with me, Josh?
Yeah. Could you repeat your?
Oh, Josh, my sound was not on.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Josh, my sound was not on. Am I right?
You have to restart the video and turn off the sound of the video while you're speaking.
Okay, I'll do it again. Excuse me.
No problem. No problem.
Okay, I'm going to restart the video. You see the video now?
Yeah. Without.
Okay. Okay. You hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. You see, in the first step, I'm in the coach model. Now I'm the teacher. I'm asking open question. Why are we failing sometimes? What is not going good? What is going good? So here I'm in the teacher mode. If we go to the training and we go to guided defense, you see the defender. This defender is the second one, number 11 over here. He has to choose a side, left or right. He has to touch the yellow point, and then he can try to touch the attacker. So the guided defender is a defender with a limitation. And his limitation in this situation is he has to choose a side. So the attacker has to look behind his shoulder. Where is my defender situation? From what is his pressing point? And he has to turn the other way around. So I'm going to let the exercise going. You see the second player always need to touch the attacker and see, okay, where is he going? I try to the other way around. And first we do is to touch the attacker. The second one is he can defend the ball and try to get the ball from the attacker. So the defender over here is touch first something else. That's the limitation. And then you can defend on the attacker. And what you see during this, because for me, this is a skill training. And a skill training is the execution of a decision. They have to make a decision, turn away left or right. But I'm coaching the execution of a decision. And I mean by that, I don't care how they're turning away. Because one guy is turning, I'm going to let it go again. One guy is turning with his left foot, one with the outside of his foot, one with the inside of his foot. And I'm coaching, I'm trying to help. What do they prefer? I don't, it's separate from player to player. Like I said, there is no ideal movement pattern. I help them to solve the situation. This is a skill training where I try to put in decisions by using guided defense and give the defender a limitation. The other situation, what I use by guided defense is the following training. You see, this is a 1v1, and in 1v1, I have one problem that is coaches are not giving a time limitation. And I can give, okay, in 10 seconds you have to score. But what will be more powerful that I let come a second defender into the situation. So when they're not taking the defender one-on-one fast enough, a second defender will come and they will lose the ball more quickly. So what did I create a situation. They have to read the defender first. They have to pass him left or right. Now they go one-on-one. When he's not fast enough, when you don't have speed, it will become 2v1. So they have to read the defender. Is the defender coming right? I'm going left. When the defender is coming left, I'm going right. So the guided defender, the second defender's limitation is first you have to run around the cone, and now he can help the first defender. So this is not.
Who is starting this action then? Is it the one with the ball, or is it you as a coach? The starting action here is the defender. So when the defender starts running, the guy who starts with the orange cone, when he starts running, the attacker has to read from where is he coming, because he can go left or he can come right. The attacker has to read and turn away left or right from the yellow cone to come away from the defender. So I like, this is what I call, I'm teaching a trigger. When we're going right, I'm going left. You have to react, come into 1v1, and the second defender is coming by after he gets a limitation. So that's what I call training with guided defense. I love that. I love that one. It's a great one.
And you can do this. This is 1v1, but you also can put a 2v1 and make it a 2v2 when he's coming, but you can also start this from a 3 versus 2 or whatever. And this is a build-up that he has thrown the ball. I'm going to show it again. This is the next step, that's not passing, but you have to receive a higher ball. Oh, I'm already too early. Look, he's throwing, so you have to receive a difficult ball. So this is a skill development training session where we're creating a situation to put them under pressure. So when I talk about guided defense, I'm talking about defenders with a limitation to give the attackers an advantage. So I was too fast, no, Josh?
No, it was.
No, okay, perfect. So there was 2 examples of training with guided defense.
How often do you use this kind of method? Is it like, do you use it every week? Is it depending on the teams, the individual players?
Very good question. Very good question. Guided defense is almost used in skill development sessions. So how many times do we put a skill development training session into a weekly scheme? Then I have to answer. I don't believe in a technical coach into a club. Like, oh, he's our technical coach, and he comes once a week, give a training session with our players because he's a technical coach. The team coach is looking, okay, and now we're going to play small-side games, for example. I believe that technical training sessions has to be implemented in every session, because a technical session influence your game principles. If you want to if you train with game principles, you have to execute them. Like if you want to play depth before wide, the classic game principle, there have to be the ability to play with the right speed, on the right foot, on the right moment to the other guy, and that's a skills training on passing. So I believe when we're training a certain training session and a certain game principle, you have to train the skills that are necessary to execute the principle, you have to put them together. So we get a holistic environment where they're training skills, where they're training principles, where they're training tactical. So for me, it's a holistic approach, because I also coaching other coaches about how do you train skill development, how do you create situations where a skill can be the outcome, because it has to be together. When a player tries to turn away in a tactical session, the coach has to help him. Oh, you turn away on the wrong side because you look, or the inside has to be faster, or whatever. If a coach sees that and can't coach that because he's a team coach and his only responsibility is to let them work together and win games, then I don't believe we put a development on the first. So I believe in a holistic approach where everything comes together.
Is this approach only is used in the younger ages, or is it up to U16, U18?
I also wrote the technical curriculum of our academy, what we call the fundamentals. And first of all, like I said, until under U9, I want them, let them play, let them experience, let them play small side games, many touches. From under 10, it's like an initiation of the fundamentals. We selected 5 fundamentals that they are training in through the whole season. They're like in a periodization. You have a tactical periodization with game principles, but you also have a technical periodization with our fundamentals. And when they get older, we get a position-specific approach. And I mean by that, it's like the wingers are coming together to train specific skills for wingers, attackers for attackers, midfielders for midfielders, and defenders with defenders. And when they get under 18, under 21, it's an individual approach. You need another skill than me. So the build-up is from every skill that they need to position-specific to individual. So that is the curriculum of the fundamentals, and then it's based on what do we expect from a winger, what do we expect that the skills are necessary to play on the midfield at our first team. So that's our approach.
Great. We got a few more questions.
Perfect.
The viewers are asking. One is, and it's almost the same I asked. So are team tactics are important to you for all the development process for your youth players? And if yes, at which age group? So when does the team tactics
when I talk about team tactics, I talk about game principles, and game principles start at the youngest age. The first game principle is score a goal together. And the second game principle is try to not receive a goal against us. So at the younger ages, that's a game principle. Try to score a goal fast as possible and try to not receive a goal. So when we teach in 5 against 5 until under 9, we have to teach them, okay, fast as possible, try to score a goal and try to don't receive a goal. Game principle 1. And then we have a specific age approach, like in the technical development, where they're joining principles step by step until they master the game principles when they're under 21 and they're ready for the first team. So it's like a build-up. They're not the same game principles or as many game principles that you need to know at under 16 are not the same that they have to know at under 10. It's like we're building up with more and more. But the base is like depth before wide, or outplay and create 1v1 is something we are putting in under 10, under 11, under 12. We're creating 1v1 situations and try to take them. But principle 1 at the youngest age is 5 against 5. Try to score a goal as fast as possible. That's a tactical game principle.
Oh, it's like I said before, you talk like we always do. Like our whole we've got a blog as well.
Mm-hmm.
Our whole blog is in German, of course, but it's all about the same topic. So great.
Okay, nice.
Another question is, at your club, how do you coach the coach?
Yeah.
And another question next to it is, how do you teach them those 5 roles? Perfect.
First of all, teaching coaches or helping coaches in their development is maybe the most difficult thing in youth football, because I'm always saying that they're older coaches and they use but I'm always doing it like this, and they stuck in this vision that but I'm already 10 years doing like this, and certainly there is a younger guy and come and say, hey, it has to be like this. But first of all, it takes time. And the second thing is I'm showing a lot. I'm not always, okay, when first of all, you have a development plan as a coach also. And it starts with what are the characteristics of a child. If you're a trainer under 10, you have to know, or we have to know for in the first phase, what are the characteristics of a child and how does your coaching fit into their characteristics. Then we make a reflection. Okay, under 9 children are very playful. How do you approach playful players when they're not concentrating yet and someone is flying over and they're looking up? How do you fit? How does your coaching fit to the age that you're training? And then we're setting goals, and we relate the goals always to the roles. I mean, some coach can be very good on the pitch with under 9 kids, and his exercises can be perfect for the specific age. But off the pitch, he's not giving high fives. He's not doing the ice check, but he's not bend his knees to come on the same height as his players. So we're setting goals, but it depends on which age coaches are training. And I believe, because my motivation to start as a coach was I had a role model at the soccer elite school. I want to be the role model for the coaches that are coming. So I'm always showing how you can do it different. For me, nothing is bad. The thing I believe is that things can be different and can be better if you want to unlock the real potential. So when a coach has difficulties with building relationship in an individual talk, I do the individual talk with a player and I put in the coach next to me. And then we are reflecting on the way how I did it. Because that's not if I do it the other way around, if I put a coach in individual talk and I'm coming sitting next to them, and then we are reflecting and I'm saying, okay, you have to do this different, and this different. It's very attacking. But if instead of that, I'm doing the individual talk and I'm setting the coach next to me and we are reflecting on the way how I did it. Okay, what do you think that is good? What could I do done better? So showing by example, then by doing, and then by reflecting, and just the same as a player. You give a demo, you talk something, and then you're reflecting. So for coaches, we were doing it the same way. We have like posters in our club, in our dressing rooms for the 5 roles. Okay, remember we have the 5 roles. We teach them. We do internal clinics with our coaches. Okay, how can you approach this? How can you approach that? That's how I'm doing. It's a difficult process, but I believe that we're in a top club, or we're a top club, or becoming a top club. Coaches are ready to develop, and they want to put in work, and they want to unlock real potential. So they know they have to adapt the information that we are giving them.
Great. All right, Sepp, great talk. There's one last question remaining. We asked this one to all of our guests. Excited to hear what your answer is. You're allowed to announce one rule to all FAs, clubs, and coaches all over the world, no matter the complexity or cost of the rule. What would it be? It could be anything. Like it could be everyone needs to have his own football pitch.
Okay. The quote that I'm always saying is never not learning. But if you want to never not learn, so if you want always to learn, you need to have time. And when you want to have time, you have to do full time at the club. So if I can choose one thing, I want to make every coach, no matter what age, under 8, under 9, under 10, under 11, full time. Put them together, trying to find a way where they can discuss about their development. Because we are going fast to teach children, but we have a lot of work to do with ourselves. But coaches who are still working, coming home, eat something, give training, come home, we can't ask them to adapt all the information that we are doing. We as a full-time coaches. So the first thing I would like to do is make every coach, no matter what age or what level, full-time, that they can put time in their development and that they can put time in what they need and recognize themselves. And who am I as a coach? Who am I as a personality? And what is my style of coaching? And am I creating the shining eyes like the video set? So for me, make everybody a full-time coach, and give them space to work on their own development.
I can check that totally. So
Perfect.
Seb, great talk, interesting. Much better than I expected, and I expected a lot. So
okay.
Fully over the top. For everyone who's listening or viewing this afterwards, it's also in real life available. We have another talk with Thor Andersson. He's the technical director of the Hong Kong Football Association. It's also in English, so if you're non German speaking guests, so let's just click on this link. We put it in the bio. And for you, Seb, thanks again. Great having you here. Hopefully we can do a podcast in the future. We have to see your club, how you work there. And thanks for your time.
Thank you for the invite, Josh, and see you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Josh. Bye-bye.